All right, the president boarding Air Force One. He is en route to Arizona today. We've got former New Mexico Democratic Governor Bill Richardson. Governor, very good to have you. This is the day after the president's big address on how to handle Afghanistan and the growing signal he is sending the region, even to North Korea by extension. And yet the North Koreans keep sort of agitating, as you know, recently saying they would use absolute force if the U.S. and South Korea were to hold and continue to hold these military drills. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, I feel the president in Afghanistan yesterday addressing the country, coming through with a policy. He should do the same with North Korea. Put out a comprehensive policy, address the country. I think North Korea is more of a threat than the situation in Afghanistan. And, you know, this is what I'd like to see in a president, not tweeting, not responding after a press conference, not getting mad, having a comprehensive policy after a meeting at Camp David, listening to his advisors. You know, I have some reservations about the policy, but I like the process that he followed.
You know, back and forth, there were a lot of Democratic analysts last night, Governor, who were saying there's no real clear objective still from President Trump, yet you could just as easily have said the same about Barack Obama, couldn't you?
Well, you're talking about Afghanistan and
Yes.
North Korea?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think the policy that President Trump is following in Afghanistan is, you know, is sort of in between not having troops and an all-right troop effort. I think it's a policy that needs to be explained, but at the same time, putting more pressure on Pakistan, I believe, makes sense. Don't overdo it, because they've got 200 million people. They have nuclear weapons, but they are harboring terrorists. Don't play them off against India, as I sensed a little bit the speech said. But at the same time, recognize that the big problems in Afghanistan, we have to train their people, and the president was right in saying that. We've got to train their Afghan forces. We've got to find ways to end the corruption there. There's huge corruption in Afghanistan. In North Korea, I think as long as we don't keep talking about the preemptive military strike and talk about more sanctions, diplomacy, but lay it out to the country. I think that, you know, I've been a critic of the president, but I will say that I thought the speech yesterday was well-reasoned. It seemed that he knew the issue, and that's what I want him to do.
Let me switch gears a little bit, Governor, if you don't mind. There's been an effort led by Nancy Pelosi in Congress to censure the president. How do you feel about that over these remarks on Charlottesville?
Well, you know, I'm a fan of Nancy Pelosi. I served in the Congress with her. I wouldn't be supportive of this resolution. I think, you know, I think there are better ways to direct our energies, not pushing for the president's health care plan, many other initiatives. But I will tell you this, if the president goes down and pardons Sheriff Joe Arpaio, you know, I might change my mind with you, Neil, on that question on the censure, because I think that would be a horrendous message to the whole country. Somebody that has broken the law to get pardoned. Forget the immigration issue.
Wait a minute. I mean, presidents, so they were granted over the years 30,000 pardons to fugitives, malcontents, ne'er-do-wells. I mean, Mark Rich comes to mind, a host of others. I mean, hardly new ground here, whether you like Joe Arpaio or not, right?
No, Neil, listen. Arpaio would arrest you and me because we have black hair. That's what he would do. I mean, this guy's overextended. He's defied courts. He's defied the law.
Wait a minute. I'm just saying there are degrees of difference here. I'm just saying that, first of all, we understand that Joe Arpaio was not invited to this Arizona event tonight, so we don't even know if the president is even thinking of pardoning him. But,
right.
But it's a slippery slope when we start judging the validity of pardons, right?
Well, not with this one. Not for me, anyway.
All right. You're stating your opinion. That's fine. Let me switch gears very, very quickly, Governor, and I do want to get your thoughts. I mentioned this effort on the part of Nancy Pelosi to censor the president over those remarks, but now she's following up on wanting to remove any Confederate-related statues in the U.S. Capitol. I'm thinking to myself, she's been there for like 100 years, right? So why now? Why is this a big deal to you now?
Well, you know, I haven't. I served in the Congress. I remember going through all those statues. I think, you know, the states should have a role in this. There should be votes in the Congress. I mean, these statutes are divisive, but they're also a part of history. You know, I just think that the Congress should spend more time on issues, on jobs, on infrastructure, on foreign policy. That's what I want them to get back to now that they come back from their recess, instead of these divisive issues. But I will say, Neil, it was all started, this Confederate issue, by the president's very ill-advised remarks in Charlottesville. He started all this, and he should just stop that.
Yeah, but they were doing this Confederate statue thing for a while. But do you think it gets a little extreme now when they talk about some extremes, and I stress extremes, blowing up Mount Rushmore, or you know, demolishing Stone Mountain in Georgia because they feature, in the case of Mount Rushmore, that had me, I was mystified because two of the members there, Teddy Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln, I think would get a pass on the slave thing, but that's just me.
Well, yeah, that is overdoing. There's a lot of overdoing.
That's true.
And so let's focus on the issues. But I will say this, I don't think that resolution, the censure, I wouldn't support it. I like Nancy Pelosi. She's been a good leader. But I tell you, if
you think she's been a good leader, do you think that she should, Democrats should rethink who they want leading them in the House, win or lose next year?
No, she's done a good job. She's a good policy person, a good fundraiser. There are a lot of new young guys that I think that have enormous potential. But, you know, I think right now, I think Schumer's doing a good job. I think Nancy's doing a good job. I do. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I'm old. Well, I am old.
Governor, you're not that old. All right, thank you very much. Very good seeing you again, sir.
Bye.